Welcome Bleach fans to another Bleach Theory video blitz where I throw out a bunch of Bleach theories and hypotheses that I have that are either substantiated or not. Please let me know if you like them. Remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please leave a comment. That really helps a lot. If you have not seen the first one, go see it. Let's get on with the video. Number 1, Gin messes with Rukia. So, I believe that Gin messing with Rukia was to undercut Aizen. This isn't exactly a new theory, but I think my nuanced take on it is, but I guess that's for you all to decide. A lot of people will say that Gin torturing Rukia is out of character for his real persona, the one that actually betrays Aizen, because it's absurdly cruel, but it also doesn't make sense for him to do this even if he was evil, because Aizen nor their plan benefits from it. But I think there is an explanation for this behavior. Gin has been working closely with Aizen, so he's bound to know something about how the Hogyoku works. We also know that at this point in the manga, Gin, Aizen, and Tosen already know where the Hogyoku is. With that, I believe Gin was trying to manipulate Rukia's emotions to get a reaction from the Hogyoku, at the same time as well as doing a good deed. Gin would be working under an assumption about the Hogyoku, whether it's the assumption that either the Hogyoku is a wish-granting device or it simply breaks the barrier between Soul Reaper and Hollow. It doesn't really matter. So his objective is twofold. Step 1, try to pull an emotional response from Rukia so that 1, she doesn't give up on life, and 2, she gets back her desire to live. This would lead to step 2. With that intense emotional response, it would grant Rukia a boon. See, if it's truly a wish-granting device, and she gained the power to escape, it would destroy Aizen's plan, but even if it's a barrier breaker, it may also grant her the power anyway. She may need to escape, again robbing Aizen of his prize. Either way, if Aizen is watching Gin in this moment, it plays into his persona as a sadist who cares for nothing but himself. So ultimately, he's safe. If he wins, then Aizen can't blame him because it looks like torture that led to a spontaneous development. If it fails, Gin loses nothing and his persona is intact. It's a no-risk, high-reward play. Number 2, Hyorin Maru is a Zanpakuto lost in the Bankai. So this theory kind of combines the couples. Hyorin Maru is a Zanpakuto lost in the Bankai and latches onto a new soul in the cycle of rebirth. So sadly, this one was mainly based on an interview I saw with Kubo about the Diamond Dust Rebellion, or maybe it was an author's note. I can't remember which. Sadly, I can no longer find the source I had. The link was on my old phone, but let's press forward. In it, Kubo explains that more or less certain aspects of the Diamond Dust Rebellion movie are canon, or at least the lore accurate. One of those lore accurate bits was about Zanpakuto and their nature. Then, someone later asked Kubo, it is said that the 13 court guard squads consist of less than 3,000 Soul Reapers, but if there are so many Shinigami, is it possible to have a Zanpakuto with the same name? Also, will it ever have the same name as the Zanpakuto that existed in the past? And Kubo answered, no two people in the same era have the same name. It may have the same name as a Zanpakuto in the past. The second part of that draws out the theory. I think despite the second movie not being canon, that the concept of a Zanpakuto having the same name does still hold up. I think Toshiro is a specific type of circumstance that is the same way that Senna from the first Bleach movie got her Zanpakuto. In that movie, the Zanpakuto previously belonged to a Soul Reaper who died in the Bankai, and his Zanpakuto got lost in the Kuryu current, the gooey stuff in the Bankai, and then it attached itself to another soul. This would also explain why Toshiro was seeing his Zanpakuto spirit well before he ever had a Zanpakuto. His is the only case in which we've seen that so far. It's also weird to me that someone would have the same name for a Zanpakuto as someone else, seeing as everyone's Zanpakuto is unique to their soul. But with reincarnation in the series, the same name thing does make sense, and imprinting in Bleach with both Blanks and Zanpakuto is possible. So despite my own personal feelings about it, and the creator himself saying so, this is definitely a viable theory. Number 3, Ichigo taps into his Bankai to defeat Kenpachi. This one may seem obvious, but I've had quite a few discussions with people, and they still think Ichigo versus Kenny is some weak fodder fight. This theory pretty much is confirmed without being confirmed in the series. So we all see this image is where Aizen states Ichigo got a foothold for his Bankai, which makes sense because he manifested Zangetsu in this moment. Now I know people will say, foothold doesn't mean obtained, which is true, I agree. But foothold means a secure position from which further progress may be made. meaning that in that moment, Ichigo's power was at the comparative level of a Bankai, and is what Ichigo was using, meaning he could touch that power but not maintain or grow that power. This is backed up in Safui when Azushiro is asking Aizen and Muken, how was Zaraki beaten by a Shikai Ichigo? And Aizen clarifies Ichigo briefly tapped into the power he used to defeat Byakuya to defeat Zaraki. And when Yoruichi is educating Ichigo about Zanpakuto, she notes that Ichigo is already familiar with manifesting Zanpakuto spirits, which is the biggest step in Bankai training, meaning Ichigo tapped into the power of a manifested Zanpakuto spirit. This is also circumstantially backed up by Zaraki's instincts. Zaraki can't sense spiritual power well, so he relies on what his instincts tell him. At this point, after the Ichigo fight, Zaraki isn't the least bit interested in anything else going on around him when fighting Tosen and Sajin until he feels Byakuya's Bankai, meaning his instincts consider that to be of some level of a fight. Mind you, Renji had already used his Bankai, so it's not about spiritual pressure just being cast everywhere. He was sensing threats around him, so it makes sense that Ichigo tapping into his Bankai would have been sufficient to defeat Zaraki without his Eyepatch at that time. Number 4, Ukiyor turns to ash. Ukiyo returns to ash to return to the desert. So this theory is a continuation of my Black Hollow tribe theory and my Natural Hollows theories. I believe that not only are there natural born hollows, but there is also a group of such hollows who do not associate with the common hollow, and this is the people that Ukiyo is trying so hard to hide. This tribe or species is mentioned multiple times in the data books, but what I want to focus on here is death. Now, the death of Ukiyo has always been suspicious to me, and I think to most people. He wasn't purified by a Zanpakuto, so he just dies, and this wasn't really helped out until we found out in Camp for Your World, unpurified hollows turned to dust. I think the hint about what happened comes from his birth as well. Ukiyo was seemingly birthed from a pit. The pit seemed to be the middle of Hueco Mundo's desert, as if the world itself kind of spat him out. So if that's true, then he turned to dust just like his ancestors did, who were destroyed by Reo, who do not have a Zanpakuto. These deserts may have a special property of reforming new hollows. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, as it were. Kubo likes pulling on from mythology, and I don't think this was any different. So, if Ukiyo is returning to the sand, I wonder if that means he will make up a new hollow creature in the future. Number 5. Stolen Bankai. At the start of the second invasion, we hear about a decree from Yhwach by the way of King Du that the Quincy must kill the Soul Reapers whose Bankai they stole them from. This does provide some advantage, I guess, but not anything really worthy, I think, of actual instruction from the leader in a military sense, unless there is an unknown motive to the audience. I think the reason has to do with the Bankai itself. The reason the Quincy have to kill the user of the Bankai they stole was to keep it after death. This may be the final step in keeping the Bankai post-death, because for me it was weird that a Zanpakuto could exist without the user being alive. We only have one case in which the Bankai was kept after death, and that was with Chojuro and Driscoll. And Driscoll admitted to killing Chojuro, so we kind of have a connection there. Yhwach stole Yama's Bankai, but never used it, so we can't use that. The Quincy medallions use the same spell that Yhwach uses to steal powers. There may be a degree of soul stealing involved, like Yhwach can do, and may explain how the medallions keep the Bankai post-mortem. If you kill the person and there's still some part of their soul left over with you, then that means you could probably still operate it after they die. A similar concept existed in the Zanpakuto Rebellion arc in the anime. The Zanpakuto spirits had the same rules when Soul Reapers beat their Zanpakuto. We also know from the Kubo and Kudo being the designer and writer of the anime, interview that Kubo was involved in that filler arc, so it may have been something he gave them to use as an idea. Number 6, Reo's sword. This one also may be obvious, but I believe in the trailer that the object that Ichigo is holding when all that rainbow reishi is flowing in and he's having all those flashes is the Soul King's Fullbring. It's confirmed in Camp for Your World that not only are the pieces of the Soul King's body the reason hollows attack people and why they get their powers, but Ichibei states that the Soul King himself had Fullbring powers. We also know that Fullbring records information from their user. Fullbring record information and keep it, and to access these memories and powers, one has to simply feel or relive those emotions, like we see in Ichigo's training in the Lost Agent arc. The Fullbringer and Fullbring in essence become one, and the Fullbring object will have a piece of the person in it. I wonder if Ichigo finally becoming a true Soul Reaper allows him to connect with that sword, and that's what that bit of dialogue was from Ichibe. That's why Ichigo will be getting these flashes in the information, is what I think. This is also how the Oken probably works as well. Remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment. Let me know what you think of my theories. Put some theories you have down in the comment section yourself. I really want to know. I love Bleach theories. I think it keeps the interest and love of the series going. And when Kubo confirms or denies these things, it just makes it all the more interesting. Y'all have a good day. Love y'all. Bye.